Now this video is by no means a Swift UI video. However, we are going to use Swift UI to make it that little bit easier to use. This video is all about how we can use the JSON placeholder API and write one set of code, a generic set of code that can download and convert all of this here, basically just writing one set of code. And we don't have to write a set of code for users or post or comment and album and so on. Just do it all at once using generics. And it is quite simple, all right? But in order for it to be simple, you have to understand the logic behind it. Now, what we need to do is have lots of endpoints. And we know that we have the user's endpoint, the post's endpoint, comments, albums, photos, to-dos, etc., etc. So these are our endpoints, okay? But because we're using generics, we're also going to use protocols and associated types to help us. And so we're going to have an endpoint protocol first of all, okay? And in this endpoint protocol, we're going to have an associated type, and this is then going to be the model, and this is going to be then codable, all right? Now, inside this protocol also, it's going to give us a request, a URL request that we can use to download the data with as well. And just for the sake of being worthwhile, we're going to have a URL as well that this protocol is going to create. So it means that we know the data from it, we know how to get it from it, and we know the URL. You could add other things on there like headers, etc., etc. And how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to wrap all of this within inside of an enum, because I love enums, all right? And this enum is then going to conform to the endpoint protocol, and we're then going to make then the type alias of a model, and as ever, we are going to extract that information out to the top to say that this is going to be codable. So now we can access the model. We can access the model from outside as well. And let's just quickly implement this as well, the request. Let's create a new request and a URL, and we'll create the URL as well. That can help us do this. And we create the URL with a string as well. Okay, I'm going to quickly copy and paste this in as well. So we've got JSON placeholder typo code.com, and then with the raw value as well. So we're going to use the raw value as well, but to be able to do this, we've got to make it a string as well, which also means that we're going to need to add our different endpoints. And we have post, for example, just to get that error message to go. So at least it has one case with inside of the enum. Okay, but what we do have in this, we have posts, we have then comments, we have albums, we have photos, we have also to-dos, and we have users as well. So these are all the different endpoints that we're going to be using. And like I said, this is going to resolve this all in one, okay, in one endpoint. And but as long as this the T is going to tell us with what data we're going to use to decode it. Okay, so next we're going to actually write the function that we're going to use to download all of these items. This is obviously going to be a generic function. So we're just going to say download items, and we're going to have our T, our type parameter, that needs to obviously conform to the endpoint protocol, all right? And then with inside of this, we're going to then say the endpoint is then obviously going to use the T as its placeholder. Now, because we haven't dealt with async and await right now, we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way of using a callback. And this is obviously going to have to be escaping, because we're going to escape code on it. And this is then going to return void. Now, with inside of this, we are going to want to also use the result, all right, which is a really cool thing to use. And in this, we're going to say that it's a T model, and then we're going to say network error as well here, all right? And I've actually already pre-made the network errors just to save time. and this is then just an enum network error, and it's going to have an error, and it's not, we could spend more time talking about this network error, but it's not the totally important thing to do. All right, so now we have our result in here. So next thing we've got to be able to do is to create our URL session, and we're going to say URL session.shared, and then we're going to use a data task with then the completion handler here. All right, so we already have our endpoint. We can say request here, super nice, and we can then come over and start filling these out. Now we're not going to use the response. We could use it in other forms of code, but in this one we're not going to. We are also going to just say this returns void, just to be explicit, and we're going to say if one second, if we're just going to have to check this error. If this error is not equal to nil, then we are going to exit out of this and return the completion, and that is then obviously going to be a failure with the error. Okay, and so this needs to be bad request then with the error. So that's the first horrible one done. All right, and we can't forget to call resume on this as well. Whoops. The next thing that we're going to have to do is check that we actually have data, all right? Because if there is no data, then we've got a real severe problem, and this is where the not expected or unexpected error comes into it, because we don't know how to handle that. And now that we do have this data, we're going to have to do a try catch block, because we're going to be using some tries, and we need a decoder first of all, so we can decode the data, and then we can say the items here is equal to decoder. Let's just move that up, decoder and decode. We have the type here, all right, we have the T, remember, so we want an array of things, so we can say T here, and we've got model here inside of it, self, and then we have then the data already. So we are pretty much nearly done, because this model here is the associated type. We know the concrete type and it's codable, so it conforms to this decodable here that we need. We need a decodable T, and we're going to say we're going to have an array of them as well. So this all conforms to it. Happy days. So now we can say the completion with success and just send back the items. Now it's always a good idea when doing stuff like this. Dispatch queue main to call this type of stuff on the main queue, because you know you're doing this on the background here, and it's potentially just good practice if we just copy this here, and we don't want the code going on any further, so we're just going to get rid of this and put that there. And we'll do this here as well, like that. And that was unexpected. I don't like this way. That's why async and await is far better for this. And then the final one here is we got failure once again, and this is bad request. And then we're going to do an error as well here, because we actually have an error. So now we have this. We've managed to encapsulate all of this code within inside of our download items. So finally we can come to our view, and we can say within inside of the task, we can say then the items is equal to download items. The endpoint we're going to say here is endpoints. And we want posts, and we've got our result. Sorry, my mistake. We don't want that. My mistake. Results. And when we build this, you see that the generic parameter T cannot be inferred. So this is where we've got to come here, and we can say now post. So here we can say result, switch result. Excuse me. And now we've got our items. And we can say failure, and we've got our error, and we're just going to print the error, and then we are going to print the items. When we run this for the first time, let's just change this over to this one, and when we run this, and hopefully this simulator can start fast enough, If it doesn't, then I will speed this up. When we see this, we know that this switch statement is going to be running on the main thread, so we don't have any worry about threading or anything like that. But we know that it's going to go off and it's going to go download all of these items that we want. Super easy for us. Okay, so you've seen the application started, and we're not displaying anything on the screen as of now, but you can see here we get a whole bunch of rubbish just sent out here. So let's just turn around and say items for each. We have to stop this. Items for each item, and then just print out. Whoops, don't want items. We want item. Print out the item title and run it once again. The lovely part of Swift, always taking a long time to compile. And there we see we have all of the titles of all of the posts inside of it. So there we go. You can see that now we've got a whole list of posts. Now what we can do is also test out, let's say, well, we got the users, right? But when we change the users here, we need to make sure we change it to the user inside of here as well. And we'll then do the email instead. And when we run this once again, you should then expect to see, hopefully, if it all works well, is that we get some emails there. Happy days. And we can also check the photos. Don't forget we have to change the photo here as well, which means we don't have an email anymore, and we get a thumbnail URL. And when we run this once again, we should see some thumbnail URLs here, and as you can see here, we do. So this is how you can use generics. You know, we wrote the code once, and we also wrote this endpoint protocol with associated types, and it encapsulated all of that information within inside of this one enum. So it meant that we could switch around with it. So with that said, I hope that you've got something out of this one video. I hope this has been a very good introduction to you to why you really need to use generics, and how, especially when you have a massive application, and I've worked on massive applications that have millions of people using that app per day, and you have loads and loads of endpoints that you've got to control. And this is the way that you do it, okay? Obviously, we could spend a lot more time doing it than this. This was just me quickly mocking this up. But there's loads of other intricate things that you could do to check the things. And this code here is a very much a prototype, all right? We could change it in many different ways to make it better, especially using async and await, but I haven't covered async await in any of my videos yet, so that's why I haven't used it. So I decided to use more old school code. Okay, with that said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and if you've got any questions, concern or feedback, let's start a conversation in the comment section down below. This was a very hard and fast video, and you know, I should really push this over maybe twice as long video or 3 times as long as video, going through every single little bit. But the whole point of this video is just to encourage you how important and highlight how important protocols, associated types, generics, codable, networking, and everything together, how important and fundamental it is to learn. Okay, thank you very much for watching. My name's David Thorne. See you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.